The storm rolled in quietly at first, a low rumble echoing through the hills of our small Kentucky town. I sat in the living room, the familiar scent of damp earth wafting through the open window. The annual Bluegrass Festival was just around the corner, but here I was, alone in our house, feeling more isolated than ever. My husband had left for yet another business trip, leaving me with nothing but shadows and silence. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 3 hours since he'd gone. The house felt empty without his presence. It always did when he was away. I busied myself with mundane tasks, dusting shelves, rearranging picture frames, anything to distract from the growing sense of loneliness that gnawed at me. Our marriage had once been vibrant, filled with laughter and shared dreams. Now it felt like a hollow shell. As I moved through the rooms, memories flooded back, moments from our early days together when we would dance in the kitchen to old country tunes, lost in each other's eyes. Those memories were bittersweet now, overshadowed by a growing distance between us. I sighed, pushing down feelings that threatened to surface. The wind picked up outside, rattling the windows and stirring something deep within me. I walked over to the window and looked out as dark clouds gathered ominously overhead. The trees swayed violently as if they were trying to escape the impending storm. Thunder cracked loudly, shaking me from my reverie. "Mom," a voice called from behind me. I turned to see my son standing in the doorway, his face illuminated by a flash of lightning. He looked older than his 20 years, there was a maturity about him that hadn't been there before. It struck me how much he resembled his father at that age, confident and full of life, but there was something different about him now. Something that made my heart race unexpectedly. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "I'm fine," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. He stepped closer as another clap of thunder echoed outside. "Looks like we're in for quite a storm." "Yes," I said softly, feeling an uncharacteristic flutter in my chest as he settled onto the couch beside me. We sat in silence for a moment, only the sound of rain hitting the roof filled the air between us. The weight of unspoken words hung heavily as I tried to focus on anything but how close we were sitting together. "Do you remember when we used to watch storms together?" he asked suddenly, breaking through my thoughts. I nodded slowly, recalling those evenings spent huddled together under blankets as lightning lit up our living room like fireworks. We used to make popcorn and tell stories. He chuckled softly at that memory. "Yeah, you always told me those silly ghost stories." "They weren't silly," I protested playfully. "Okay," he laughed again, and for a moment it felt like old times, easy and carefree. But then came another flash of lightning followed by an ear-splitting crack of thunder that sent shivers down my spine. A flicker of light caught my eye just before everything went dark. The power had gone out completely. "Great," I muttered under my breath as darkness enveloped us. "Are you scared?" he asked quietly after a moment's hesitation. "No," I lied again. Fear crept into my voice despite my efforts to sound brave. "Here." He reached for my hand instinctively, a gesture so simple yet so loaded with meaning in this moment of isolation and uncertainty. Our fingers intertwined naturally as if they had always belonged together like this, a connection deeper than just mother and son. It felt electric amid the chaos outside. My heart raced as warmth spread through me where our skin met. It was thrilling yet terrifying all at once. "What are we going to do now?" he asked softly after what felt like an eternity spent holding hands in darkness. "I don't know," I admitted honestly. Vulnerability washed over me like rain against glass, a stark contrast to how strong I tried to appear every day since his father began traveling more frequently for work. The storm raged on outside while we remained cocooned within our own world, a world where time seemed suspended between fleeting memories and forbidden thoughts swirling around us like wind through trees during this tempestuous night. Suddenly there was another flash outside. The lights flickered back on briefly before plunging us into darkness again, but not before revealing something undeniable. his gaze locked onto mine with an intensity that sent chills down my spine. Desire mingled dangerously with confusion beneath layers of societal expectations, suffocating any rational thought within me, now teetering on edge between right and wrong, between love and longing, forbidden feelings simmering beneath surface tension ready to erupt at any moment if only given half a chance. And then came another rumble overhead, a reminder that storms could pass just as quickly as they arrived, but this one felt different somehow, more personal than nature's wrath raging beyond these walls surrounding us both. The darkness enveloped us, thick and suffocating. I could barely make out my son's silhouette across the room, but the tension in the air was palpable. Thunder rumbled again, louder this time, shaking the very foundations of our home. I could feel my heart racing, an echo of the storm outside. "Mom?" His voice broke through the silence, hesitant and soft. "Are you okay?" "Just a little startled," I replied, forcing a smile that he couldn't see. The truth was more complicated than that. I was not just startled by the storm, I was overwhelmed by something else entirely, a feeling that had been growing inside me like a storm cloud ready to burst. In moments like this, when the world outside felt chaotic and unpredictable, it was easy to forget our boundaries. The flickering light had revealed a moment too intimate, a shared glance that lingered longer than it should have. My mind raced with thoughts of what society would say if they knew about my growing feelings for him. "Want to play a game or something?" he suggested, trying to lighten the mood. "Sure, what do you have in mind?" I replied, grateful for his attempt to distract us both from the tension hanging between us. As we settled onto the couch with a deck of cards, laughter filled the room as we played simple games from my childhood, games that felt innocent enough but now held an undercurrent of something deeper. Each laugh seemed to draw us closer together, blurring lines that had always been clear before. "Remember when we used to play this all summer long?" he asked suddenly, his eyes sparkling with nostalgia. "Yes," I said softly. "Those were good times." The memories flooded back, sunshine streaming through windows and carefree afternoons spent together before life became so complicated. The warmth of those moments clashed with my current reality, the storm outside mirroring my internal struggle. We continued playing, and with each hand dealt, I found myself drawn into his gaze once more. There was something electric in the air, a connection that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. In a moment of impulse driven by longing and loneliness, we kissed. The world around us faded as our lips touched, an act filled with confusion but also an undeniable yearning that had been building for far too long. My heart raced as I pulled away almost immediately, breathless and shocked by what had just happened. What did we just do?" he stammered, eyes wide with surprise. "I don't know," I whispered back, panic flooding through me. Guilt washed over any remnants of excitement as reality crashed down around us like thunderclaps outside. This wasn't supposed to happen, not ever. My mind screamed at me to retreat into logic and reason, yet here we were in this moment where everything felt wrong yet impossibly right at once. "I'm sorry," he said finally, breaking the silence that hung heavy between us like an anchor pulling us down into murky waters. "No," I replied quickly before thinking better of it. It's complicated." I could see confusion etched on his face, mirrored in my own heart, and suddenly all those societal expectations loomed larger than life itself again, like dark clouds threatening another downpour outside our window. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he added quietly after a pause that stretched endlessly between us. "Neither did I confessed softly as guilt tightened its grip around my chest like an iron band constricting breath itself. We sat there in silence for what felt like hours while rain lashed against windows, the chaos outside serving as a backdrop to our internal turmoil, a storm raging not just beyond these walls but within them too. Eventually breaking free from this heavy atmosphere required courage neither of us seemed ready for yet. Instead we continued playing cards without speaking further about what had transpired. each hand dealt feeling heavier than before until exhaustion began creeping into every crevice of our minds until finally sleep beckoned both of us away from this strange reality we'd created together tonight. Morning light filtered through curtains still drawn tight against any prying eyes, illuminating dust motes dancing lazily amidst shadows cast across furniture familiar yet foreign now after last night's events unfolded within these walls. Waking up brought clarity along with discomfort, the weight of choices made settling heavily upon fragile shoulders unprepared for such burdens, but still there lingered an undeniable spark ignited between us during last night's tempestuous embrace. As breakfast cooked quietly on the stove, I busied myself trying not to think about how different everything felt since yesterday, how easily lines blurred when emotions ran high against dark skies swirling overhead. Waiting patiently while my son ambled into view looking slightly disheveled yet undeniably handsome despite chaos lingering just beneath surface tension. "Morning," he said sheepishly as if unsure whether or not things remained unchanged after everything that transpired last night tainted innocence forevermore. "Good morning," I replied cautiously, every word weighed down by unspoken fears lingering just beneath surface tension threatening eruption at any moment if given half a chance. His smile seemed genuine even though uncertainty danced behind those bright eyes searching mine for answers neither one knew how to articulate quite yet amid swirling doubts clouding judgment surrounding our newfound intimacy lurking dangerously close beneath familiar comfort zones once thought impenetrable. "We should talk," he began hesitantly before trailing off again unsure where conversation might lead next. Or if perhaps silence would serve better purpose keeping secrets hidden safely away from prying eyes watching closely ever since whispers began circulating around town regarding closeness shared between mother and son recently discovered during Bluegrass Festival festivities only weeks prior. "Maybe later?" I suggested lightly hoping distraction might steer conversation away from dangerous waters threatening capsizing fragile vessels holding dreams afloat amidst turbulent seas crashing violently against rocky shores unknown territory waiting patiently ahead filled with uncertainty lurking just beyond horizon line blurred visions hiding truths concealed beneath layers upon layers waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth uncovering hidden depths buried deep within heart's yearning. Desperately seeking solace amidst stormy nights spent alone longing connection found nowhere else. And so we returned back into routine moments shared together throughout day, each second ticking away while thoughts remained tangled within minds struggling reconcile feelings emerging slowly yet surely threatening unravel everything carefully constructed over years spent building lives apart now converging unexpectedly colliding head-on against tumultuous tides crashing relentlessly upon shores waiting patiently hoping somehow find way navigate treacherous waters without capsizing completely. Lost sight true north guiding paths forward towards brighter tomorrows awaiting discovery beyond horizon line blurred visions hiding truths concealed beneath layers waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth uncovering hidden depths buried deep within hearts. Yearning desperately seeking solace amidst stormy nights spent alone longing connection found nowhere else. The storm outside raged on, its ferocity mirroring the turmoil within me. The darkness enveloped our home, thick and suffocating, as I struggled to reconcile the weight of my emotions. My heart raced, echoing the thunder that rumbled like an ominous warning. I could hardly breathe, caught in a whirlwind of guilt and desire. "Mom?" His voice cut through the chaos, soft yet steady. It grounded me momentarily, pulling me back from the edge of my thoughts. He stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain that had begun to seep through the cracks of our small town's defenses. "Are you okay?" I nodded, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than an expression of truth. "Just thinking about everything." The words hung between us, heavy with unspoken tension. He stepped closer, his presence both comforting and unsettling. I could see concern etched on his face, but there was something deeper lurking behind his eyes, a flicker of understanding that sent a shiver down my spine. The air crackled with electricity as we stood there in silence, two souls navigating uncharted waters. "Want to watch a movie or something?" he suggested, attempting to lighten the mood. Sure, I replied, though my mind was racing with thoughts that threatened to drown out any semblance of normalcy we could cling to. As we settled onto the couch together, I felt an undeniable pull towards him. The flickering light from the television cast shadows across his face, illuminating features that were so familiar yet now seemed foreign in this new context. The film played on as background noise. We were lost in our own world. "What do you think about all this?" he asked suddenly, motioning towards the storm outside. "It feels like everything is changing." I swallowed hard. "Change can be good, or bad," I replied cautiously, aware of how loaded those words were in our current situation. He looked at me intently, then shrugged slightly. "Sometimes it feels like things are just out of control." There was a vulnerability in his voice that made my heart ache. "Yeah," I murmured softly. "It can feel overwhelming." He shifted closer to me on the couch. Warmth radiated from him like an anchor amidst my swirling thoughts. As if drawn by an invisible force, our faces hovered closer together until our lips met. Time stood still for a heartbeat as shock coursed through me, an electric pulse that ignited every nerve ending and drowned out all rational thought. My mind screamed for clarity while my body betrayed me with longing I had tried so hard to suppress. The moment shattered as quickly as it began. I pulled away sharply, breathless and wide-eyed with fear and confusion. "What just happened?" My voice trembled as uncertainty wrapped around us both like a thick fog. I don't know," he stammered, eyes darting away from mine as if searching for answers hidden within the walls around us. The gravity of what had transpired crashed down upon me like waves against a rocky shore, relentless and unforgiving. Guilt clawed at my insides while desire lingered tantalizingly close but forever out of reach. "Maybe we should just forget it," I suggested weakly, desperate to find some semblance of normalcy again despite knowing deep down that nothing would ever be normal again after this night. He nodded slowly but didn't meet my gaze. Instead he stared blankly at the flickering screen ahead where shadows danced in rhythmic patterns, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside us both. We sat in silence for what felt like hours until finally he spoke again. "Do you think Dad will be back soon?" I sighed heavily at the mention of my husband. His absence felt like a chasm between us now wider than ever before despite being physically present just days ago when he left for another business trip without so much as a second glance back at what lay behind him. "I don't know," I admitted quietly. Even saying those words felt like admitting defeat against forces beyond our control, the very forces threatening to unravel everything we held dear if left unchecked. As if sensing my inner struggle, he reached out, tentatively brushing his fingers against mine, a small gesture laden with meaning that sent shivers coursing through me, once more igniting feelings long buried beneath layers upon layers of societal expectations and familial bonds meant to keep us anchored firmly within prescribed roles assigned by life itself. But here we were, two souls adrift amidst raging storms, battling against tides threatening to sweep us both away into unknown depths filled only with uncertainty lurking beneath every wave, crashing relentlessly against fragile hearts yearning, desperately seeking solace amidst chaos surrounding them now. I pulled back slightly, feeling overwhelmed by sensations swirling around us. They threatened to consume everything, leaving nothing but remnants scattered across shores previously untouched by such turbulent emotions, now laid bare before each other under dim light filtering through windows, rattling against gusts outside, reminding us constantly just how fragile everything truly was. "We should probably talk about this," he said, finally breaking silence, once more searching for clarity amidst confusion swirling around us both, trying desperately grasp hold onto something solid enough keep from falling apart, completely lost sight true north, guiding paths forward towards brighter tomorrows, awaiting discovery beyond horizon line, blurred visions hiding truths concealed beneath layers, waiting patiently until someone dared venture forth, uncovering hidden depths buried deep within. Hearts yearning, desperately seeking solace amidst stormy nights spent alone, longing connection found nowhere else. But what could we say? What words could possibly encapsulate complexities woven tightly together, threatening unravel everything carefully constructed over years spent building lives apart, now converging unexpectedly, colliding head-on against tumultuous tides, crashing relentlessly upon shores, waiting patiently, hoping somehow find way navigate treacherous waters without capsizing, completely lost sight true north, guiding paths forward. A sudden flash illuminated our surroundings, momentarily blinding me before plunging us back into darkness where whispers echoed louder than ever before, urging caution, caution, caution. But deep down inside something stirred, awakening desires long suppressed, begging for acknowledgement despite consequences looming large overhead, threatening exposed secrets kept hidden far too long. And then came another rumble. This time louder, more insistent, demanding attention, drawing focus away from internal battles raging within towards external forces beyond control, reminding us vividly just how fragile life truly is when faced head-on, unyielding storms testing resolve, pushing boundaries further than ever imagined possible, forcing decisions previously avoided come crashing down upon heads, unaware until it's too late. Maybe we should go check on things outside, he suggested hesitantly, breaking spellbinding silence wrapping tightly around us both, allowing reality seep back into consciousness where choices must be made, consequences faced whether ready or not, because sometimes storms rage not only outside but also deep inside, hearts yearning, desperately seeking solace amidst chaos surrounding them now. The storm outside continued to rage, its fury reflected in the tumult within me. I could hear the rain pelting against the windows, a relentless reminder of the chaos that surrounded us. The darkness felt heavy, cloaking our home in a shroud of secrecy and fear. My heart raced as I tried to process what had just happened between us. Maybe we should go check on things outside, he suggested hesitantly, breaking the spellbinding silence that had enveloped us. His voice was steady, but I could sense an undercurrent of anxiety. We both knew that stepping out into the storm would mean confronting not only the elements but also our own decisions. I nodded, though my mind was elsewhere. The kiss lingered like a ghost between us, haunting yet intoxicating. The weight of it settled heavily on my chest as I considered the implications of our actions. Would this moment define us? Or would it remain a fleeting secret lost in the shadows? We moved cautiously towards the front door, each step echoing with unspoken words and shared vulnerabilities. As we opened it, a gust of wind rushed in, swirling around us like an unwelcome visitor. The air was thick with moisture and tension, and I wondered if we were truly ready for what lay beyond. Outside, nature unleashed its wrath. Lightning illuminated the sky in brief flashes, casting eerie shadows across our yard. We stood together, side by side, feeling small against the vastness of the storm. It was as if the world had become a reflection of our inner turmoil, wild and unpredictable. "Do you think it'll get worse?" he asked, glancing up at the dark clouds swirling above. "I don't know," I replied honestly. "But storms can be unpredictable." He looked at me then, his eyes searching mine for answers that didn't exist. In that moment, I saw not just my son but a young man grappling with his own confusion and desires. It struck me how vulnerable he was in this moment, mirroring my own feelings of uncertainty. "We should go back inside," I finally suggested, feeling an overwhelming urge to protect him from both the storm and whatever lay ahead for us. As we stepped back into our home, an oppressive silence enveloped us once more. The flickering candles cast dancing shadows on the walls as we settled onto the couch, two souls adrift in a sea of emotions. "I've never felt anything like that before," he admitted quietly after a moment's hesitation. "Neither have I confessed softly. "It's complicated." He nodded slowly as if weighing my words carefully before speaking again. "What do you think this means for us?" The question hung heavy in the air between us, a fragile thread connecting two hearts navigating uncharted waters. I took a deep breath before responding. Honesty felt necessary even amidst such uncertainty. "I think we need to talk about what happened," I said finally, searching for clarity amid confusion. His gaze dropped to his hands resting on his knees, fidgeting nervously as he processed my words. I don't want to ruin what we have. Neither do I reassured him gently but firmly. There was no denying that something had shifted between us irrevocably. We spent hours talking, sharing secrets long buried beneath layers of familial love and societal expectations. Each revelation brought us closer together while simultaneously pushing boundaries further than either of us anticipated possible. I told him about my loneliness during his father's frequent absences, how those nights stretched endlessly into solitude filled only by echoes of laughter from past memories now tainted by regretful longing for connection, something deeper than mere affection shared between mother and son. In turn, he revealed his struggles with identity and purpose, the pressures weighing heavily upon him as he navigated adulthood amidst expectations from friends and family alike who couldn't possibly understand what lurked beneath surface appearances. With every word exchanged came moments where our shoulders brushed against one another or fingers grazed inadvertently, a silent acknowledgement that something profound lingered just out of reach yet tantalizingly close enough to grasp if only we dared take that leap together into unknown territories fraught with perilous consequences awaiting discovery beyond mere whispers, exchanged behind closed doors. And then it happened. We spent the night together. Not physically intertwined but emotionally bound by shared truths laid bare before one another under cover of darkness, shielding us from prying eyes outside seeking answers they wouldn't comprehend even if offered freely, without hesitation or fear lingering just beneath surface interactions previously defined solely through familial ties alone. Morning light filtered through curtains drawn tightly against encroaching daylight, illuminating dust motes dancing lazily through air thickened by unspoken promises made during hours spent unraveling complexities surrounding hearts yearning, desperately seeking solace amidst chaos surrounding them now. As dawn broke over Kentucky Town Square bathed in soft hues, awakening slowly from slumbering dreams cocooned within warmth offered by familiar surroundings once again. Clarity washed over me like gentle rain, cleansing away remnants left behind after turbulent storms passed through, leaving behind traces only hinting at turmoil witnessed previously hidden beneath layers carefully constructed over years spent building lives around societal norms dictating acceptable boundaries drawn firmly across lines separating love from longing. Yet doubt crept in uninvited alongside morning light. Questions swirled relentlessly within mind, refusing silence demanded by conscience, nagging incessantly, reminding me consequences awaited any choices made moving forward without careful consideration given towards potential fallout stemming directly from decisions taken under cover, darkness where illumination often obscured clarity sought desperately, now shining brightly, revealing truths too difficult to confront openly without risking everything built thus far. What would others say? How could we possibly navigate this new reality crafted from fragments once thought safeguarded fiercely against outside influences threatening stability enjoyed previously? Would anyone understand, or would judgment rain down mercilessly upon heads unaware until it's too late? The weight pressed heavily upon shoulders already burdened by guilt, lingering long after night passed. Fears gnawed relentlessly at edges, sanity fraying, slowly unraveling threads connecting past, present, futures intertwined forever, altered, irrevocably changed, because sometimes storms rage not only outside but also deep inside hearts yearning, desperately seeking solace amidst chaos surrounding them now. The phone buzzed again, a sharp sound slicing through the thick air of my home. My heart raced as I glanced at the screen, noting the unfamiliar name. It felt like a warning bell ringing in my ears, echoing the chaos that had unfolded in the past days. The weight of my secret loomed larger than ever, and I hesitated before answering. What if it was someone who had pieced together the fragments of our lives? The thought sent a shiver down my spine. My mind raced back to that night when everything changed. The storm outside had mirrored the turmoil within me, a tempest of emotions I had tried so hard to suppress. Now, standing at the precipice of potential exposure, I was paralyzed by fear. I took a deep breath and swiped to answer, trying to steady my voice. Hello? Silence hung heavy on the other end before a voice finally broke through. Is this her? The tone was low and cautious, almost conspiratorial. Who is this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Someone who knows what happened, they replied cryptically. You need to be careful. Panic surged through me as every heartbeat echoed in my ears. What did they know? How much had they seen? My mind flitted back to moments shared with my son, those fleeting glances, whispered conversations late into the night. Had someone witnessed our connection? Wait, I stammered, what do you mean? I can't say more over the phone, they insisted. Just think about your next move. The line went dead before I could respond, leaving me clutching the phone tightly as if it were a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. The anxiety twisted in my stomach as I sank into an armchair, feeling its familiar embrace but knowing it offered no comfort now. I needed to talk to him, to confront what we had done and what it meant for us moving forward. But how could we even begin to navigate this new reality? My heart raced at the thought of confessing everything. What if he didn't feel the same weight pressing upon him? What if he viewed our bond differently now? I glanced toward his room down the hall, uncertainty gnawing at me like a persistent itch that wouldn't go away. He'd been so vulnerable lately, perhaps he sensed something shifting between us two but hadn't dared speak it aloud. As I stood up and walked toward his door, memories flooded back, moments filled with laughter during those quiet evenings when we shared secrets and dreams under dim lights and stormy skies. It felt like a lifetime ago when innocence wrapped us in its warm embrace. Knocking softly on his door felt monumental, each rap echoed louder than thunder outside. After a moment's pause, he opened it slightly, his expression curious but guarded. Mom? His brow furrowed with concern as he took in my anxious demeanor. We need to talk, I said softly but firmly. He stepped aside, allowing me into his room where shadows danced across walls illuminated only by flashes of lightning outside. The atmosphere felt charged with unspoken words hanging heavily between us. What's going on? He asked cautiously as he sat on the edge of his bed. I took a deep breath and plunged forward into honesty, a leap into vulnerability that terrified me yet felt necessary amidst this storm brewing within us both. I got an anonymous message today. His eyes widened slightly, apprehension flickered across his face like lightning illuminating dark skies for just an instant before retreating back into uncertainty. About us? His voice was barely above a whisper. Yes. My heart raced as I continued. They hinted that someone knows about what happened between us. What do you mean? His brow knitted tighter as confusion morphed into something deeper, fear or realization perhaps? The kiss, I admitted reluctantly but firmly, there was no backing away now from truth laid bare before us both. What we shared. It's not just some fleeting moment anymore. He looked away for a moment, processing my words as silence enveloped us like fog rolling over hills after rainstorms pass through, heavy yet oddly comforting despite its weightiness pressing down upon our shoulders. I've been thinking about it too, he finally confessed quietly after what felt like an eternity stretched thin between breaths taken hesitantly rather than freely exchanged without inhibition once upon time long ago before all this began spiraling out of control around us both now caught up in currents too strong for either one alone could withstand without help from another willing partner willing enough step forward together faced against tides threatening pull apart instead draw closer. Still despite odds stacked high against them both right here right now. What do we do? His question hung heavily in air thick with tension electrifying every fiber within me urging action rather than stagnation born from fear alone holding sway over hearts yearning desperately find solace amidst chaos surrounding them still while grappling with emotions swirling wildly inside waiting patiently until right moment arrives when clarity emerges finally breaking surface tension allowing release once again breathe freely without restraint imposed by societal norms keeping them shackled. Down beneath, waves crashing relentlessly onward, threatening drown out any semblance hope left lingering, just outreach fingertips grasping ever closer towards something beautiful, fragile yet powerful enough transform lives forever, changed, irrevocably altered, because sometimes storms rage not only outside but also deep inside hearts, yearning, desperately seeking solace amidst chaos surrounding them now. I don't know, I admitted honestly, feeling tears prick at corners of eyes, betraying strength failing against tidal forces, pulling apart fragments once thought safeguarded fiercely against outside influences threatening stability enjoyed previously crafted carefully over years spent nurturing. Relationships built upon love, trust, respect, forged through trials endured together time again until now all seemed unraveling thread by thread, lost forever, unable reclaim what once existed prior. Darkness descended upon lives lived, brightly shining, brightly illuminating paths taken down, roads less traveled, filled, adventure, discovery, wonderment experienced along way. Just then came another knock, a firm rap that echoed through our fragile bubbles, spun tight around secrets shared between mother-son, bound together by invisible threads woven intricately, connecting hearts, souls, minds alike, intertwined, forever altered, irrevocably changed, because sometimes storms rage not only outside but also deep inside hearts, yearning, desperately seeking solace amidst chaos surrounding them now. The knock at the door shattered the fragile silence, a thunderous reminder of reality pressing in around us. I glanced at my son, his expression a mixture of confusion and concern. The storm raged outside, but it felt like a tempest had broken loose within our home, swirling around, the unspoken words hanging between us. "Who could that be?" he whispered, his voice barely rising above the sound of rain pounding against the windows. "I don't know," I replied, my heart racing as I considered the implications of an unexpected visitor. The weight of the anonymous message loomed heavily over me, threatening to expose everything we had tried to keep hidden. Another knock followed, more insistent this time. My feet moved almost instinctively toward the door, propelled by an urge to confront whatever awaited me on the other side. I opened it slowly, half expecting to find someone from our past standing there, ready to unravel everything we had woven together in secret. Instead, it was just a neighbor from down the street. Her face was drawn with concern, rain-soaked hair clinging to her forehead as she stepped inside without invitation. "I'm sorry to intrude," she said hurriedly, shaking off droplets like a dog emerging from a pond. "I saw your lights flickering and thought you might need help." Her presence felt like an unwelcome intrusion into our moment, a reminder that life continued outside our cocoon of secrecy. As she stepped further into the house, I felt my son stiffen beside me. "We're fine," I said quickly, trying to dismiss her with a wave of my hand. "Just a storm." But she wasn't easily deterred. "You sure? You've been through quite a bit lately." Her gaze flicked between us, an unsettling scrutiny that made my skin crawl. "Really?" my son interjected softly. "We're okay." His voice lacked conviction, he was still processing what had just happened between us moments before her arrival. She looked at him for a moment longer than necessary before turning back to me. "You know I'm here if you need anything," she said gently but firmly. There was an undertone of something unspoken in her words, an awareness that made me uneasy. As she left, closing the door behind her with a soft click that echoed through the house, I turned back to my son. The tension hung thick in the air, it felt as if we were two ships passing in the night, close enough to touch yet separated by an unbridgeable chasm. "What do you think she meant?" he asked quietly, his brow furrowed with concern. "I don't know." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Maybe she's just worried about us." "Worried about what?" he pressed gently, searching for answers in my eyes. I hesitated before responding. "About how much time we've spent together lately." The truth hung heavy on my tongue, an acknowledgement of our shared isolation and burgeoning connection that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. He shifted uncomfortably but didn't look away. "Do you think people are talking?" "They might be," I admitted reluctantly. Small towns have a way of gossiping. A silence settled between us again, a charged stillness filled with unspoken fears and desires that were becoming harder to ignore. The storm outside continued its relentless assault on our world while we stood frozen inside ours. "I don't want anyone finding out," he murmured finally, breaking through the tension like lightning splitting through dark clouds. "Neither do I replied softly, feeling an ache deep within me at his words, the realization that our connection had become something both beautiful and dangerous. His eyes searched mine as if looking for reassurance or perhaps permission to explore this tangled web we had woven together under cover of darkness and rainstorms. "We need to talk about what happened earlier," he said cautiously, stepping closer as if drawn by some invisible force pulling us together once more despite all reason urging otherwise. Yes, I agreed quietly but firmly, this conversation was long overdue. It felt crucial now more than ever to confront what lay beneath our surface interactions, the feelings swirling dangerously close to becoming something neither of us could control or fully understand yet wanted desperately nonetheless. But before either of us could speak again or delve deeper into those murky waters swirling around us like storm clouds gathering overhead once more, a sudden crash echoed from outside. A loud clap of thunder followed by another sharp knock at the door jolted us both back into reality yet again. "What now?" he asked incredulously as fear flickered across his features once more. An emotion mirrored in my own heart racing wildly against all reason, urging caution instead of reckless abandon toward whatever lay beyond those closed doors separating our world from theirs outside, where secrets could no longer hide safely away from prying eyes lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently until they could pounce upon unsuspecting prey left vulnerable, exposed raw without armor shielding them. "Any more?" Taking a deep breath, steadying myself against uncertainty weighing heavily upon fragile shoulders burdened already by too many secrets shared too soon, I moved toward that door once more, feeling every heartbeat echoing through silence surrounding us now. With trembling hands gripping tightly onto doorknob, I hesitated briefly, wondering what awaited on other side before finally turning it, slowly opening wide enough, allowing light flood into darkened space, illuminating shadows lurking within corners hidden away from sight, revealing truths long kept buried beneath layers built up over years spent nurturing relationships forged carefully amidst trials endured together time again until now everything seemed unraveling thread by thread, lost forever. Unable reclaim what once existed prior, darkness descended upon lives lived brightly, shining brightly, illuminating paths taken down, roads less traveled, filled adventure, discovery, wonderment experienced a long way. And there stood another neighbor, this time someone familiar yet distant, a friend who had known me long before storms raged both inside and out, threatening stability enjoyed previously crafted carefully over years spent nurturing relationships built upon love, trust, respect, forged through trials endured together time again until now everything seemed unraveling thread by thread, lost forever, unable reclaim what once existed prior, darkness descended upon lives lived brightly, shining brightly, illuminating paths taken down, roads less traveled, filled adventure, discovery, wonderment experienced a long way. "Hey!" she exclaimed cheerily despite rain-soaked clothes clinging uncomfortably against skin beneath layers worn throughout days spent working hard, tending gardens, growing fruits, vegetables, nourishing families across town, sharing laughter, stories alike while keeping watchful eye over children playing nearby, unaware, storms brewing overhead threatening safety, security enjoyed previously crafted carefully amidst trials endured together time again until now everything seemed unraveling thread by thread, lost forever, unable reclaim what once existed prior, darkness descended upon lives lived brightly, shining brightly, illuminating paths taken down, roads less traveled, filled adventure, discovery, wonderment experienced a long way. I forced myself not to flinch at her unexpected arrival nor recoil from warmth radiating outward, enveloping space surrounding all three, standing there caught between worlds colliding, crashing violently against one another, threatening stability enjoyed previously crafted carefully over years spent nurturing relationships built upon love, trust, respect, forged through trials endured together time again until now everything seemed unraveling thread by thread, lost forever, unable reclaim what once existed prior darkness descended upon lives lived brightly shining brightly illuminating paths taken down roads less traveled filled adventure discovery wonderment experienced a long way. The knock on the door echoed through the silence of our home, a stark reminder that the world outside still existed, even as I grappled with my own tumultuous feelings. My heart raced, caught between the comfort of my son's presence and the anxiety that came with being discovered. I exchanged a glance with him, his eyes wide and uncertain, mirroring my own internal conflict. "Who could that be?" he whispered, his voice barely above a murmur. "I don't know," I replied, forcing an air of calmness. "Stay here." I moved to the door, each step heavier than the last. The storm outside raged on, wind howling like a wounded animal. I hesitated before opening it, my mind racing through possibilities. Was it a neighbor? A friend? Or perhaps someone who had caught wind of our secret? As I opened the door, relief washed over me momentarily. It was Sarah, my close friend from down the street. Her eyes were filled with concern as she stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "Hey. I was worried about you," she said, brushing rain droplets from her hair. "I heard some talk around town." "What kind of talk?" I asked cautiously, closing the door behind her. "You know how it is in this town," she replied with a sigh. "People see you spending time with your son and start jumping to conclusions." My stomach twisted at her words. The whispers had begun already, they swirled around me like a dark cloud, threatening to suffocate everything I held dear. "I'm fine," I insisted, though my voice lacked conviction. "Are you?" she pressed gently. "You seem different lately." Her concern felt like both a comfort and a burden. Did she sense the turmoil within me? The longing that was becoming harder to suppress? Things have been complicated," I admitted finally, avoiding her gaze as shame washed over me. "Complicated how?" She stepped closer, her tone softening further as if trying to draw out my truth. I weighed my options. Should I confide in her about everything? The stormy nights spent wrapped in confusion and desire? Or should I maintain the facade of normalcy? "It's just, my husband is away so much," I said evasively. "And sometimes it gets lonely." Sarah nodded knowingly but didn't press further. Instead, she glanced toward where my son stood in the living room. "He's growing up so fast," she remarked lightly. "You must be proud." Proud? That was one way to put it. My heart twisted at the thought of what our relationship had morphed into, a bond that felt both tender and terrifyingly wrong. "Yes," I murmured, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Just then, another knock interrupted our conversation, a firmer one this time. My heart dropped again as dread settled in my chest like a stone. Who else could it be? Sarah asked curiously as I moved toward the door once more. I opened it slowly this time to reveal my husband standing there, drenched from head to toe but unmistakably present, his expression unreadable. "What are you doing here?" My voice came out sharper than intended. "I came back early," he said simply before stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. The atmosphere shifted instantly, tension crackled in the air like static electricity before a storm. He glanced around as if assessing something amiss, perhaps sensing an undercurrent between his wife and son that should not exist. "I thought you'd be at work all week," I managed to say while trying to mask my unease. "Plans changed." His tone was curt as he shrugged off his wet jacket and hung it by the door. Sarah shifted awkwardly beside me before mumbling something about needing to go home, a subtle hint that she understood this wasn't her place anymore. As she left quickly after bidding us farewell, an oppressive silence enveloped us once more. My husband turned toward our son then back at me, suspicion flickering in his eyes like lightning illuminating dark clouds overhead. "What's going on?" he demanded finally after what felt like an eternity of silence stretching between us like an unbridgeable chasm. Nothing. The word escaped my lips too quickly. Panic surged through me as his gaze bore into mine, searching for honesty amidst deception. He crossed his arms defensively while regarding both of us with scrutiny, his protective instincts kicking in full force, and all at once everything felt precarious. One wrong move could send this fragile balance crashing down around us like shattered glass scattered across cold tile floors. "I saw you two together earlier," he stated flatly without any hint of emotion behind those words, but they struck deep nonetheless, the accusation hanging heavy between us, almost tangible enough to touch. A weight pressing down upon hearts already burdened by unspoken truths, lingering just beneath surface-level awareness, waiting patiently for acknowledgement, daring anyone brave enough stand against tides rising rapidly, threatening drown them all if left unchecked. "We were just talking." My voice rose involuntarily, defensiveness creeping into every syllable spoken, as though raising volume might somehow drown out reality surrounding us, now threatening expose raw vulnerability laid bare beneath layers carefully constructed over years spent cultivating lives intertwined, tightly woven together despite storms brewing outside, raging against windows, rattling frames holding memories intact. His brow furrowed deeper still, the tension palpable, radiating outward, filling space surrounding us. A chasm widening further still until walls began closing in, suffocating any hope remaining, grasping desperately onto fleeting shards, light illuminating paths forward obscured by shadows cast long ago. "You need to stop this." His voice cracked slightly under pressure mounting steadily within him, that familiar edge creeping back into tone once reserved only for moments when frustration boiled just beneath surface, ready erupt, spilling forth unchecked chaos left behind, aftermath, destruction wrought upon families torn apart by secrets hidden away too long. "What do you mean?" My heart raced even faster now, fear mingling dangerously close alongside anger, igniting flames within, threatening consume everything left standing upright amidst ruins created, previously built foundations crumbling slowly beneath feet, unable escape, grasping hold tightly, clinging onto remnants, past unwilling let go despite knowing change inevitable, lurking just beyond horizon, waiting patiently strike when least expected. "This isn't normal." He gestured vaguely toward our son, whose face paled visibly under scrutiny, felt heavy pressing down upon shoulders small yet resilient enough carry burdens placed there willingly, unaware consequences lie ahead, waiting patiently, ready pounce when least expected, catching unaware, leaving trails destruction behind, burned bridges never rebuilt again. "I'm not doing anything wrong." The words tumbled out, unbidden, desperate, clinging onto truth however distorted perception may appear from outside looking in, unable comprehend complexities woven intricately throughout lives lived quietly until now exposed, raw, vulnerable, stripped bare, revealing wounds once hidden away, carefully guarded secrets unraveling thread by thread until nothing remained intact, only chaos scattered across paths taken leading nowhere, fast spiraling downward, endlessly trapped within cycles repeating, endlessly unable break free from constraints imposed upon them by choices made long ago. He shook his head slowly, backing away, slightly unsure where next step would lead, uncertain future looming ahead, filled uncertainty, darkness creeping ever closer, threatening swallow whole, leaving nothing behind but echoes, laughter, fading memories cherished forever, lost amidst storms raging outside, never ceasing, always present, haunting reminders, choices made lead down paths diverging far apart, never meeting again. The door creaked open, and I stood frozen, my heart racing. The storm outside raged on, thunder rumbling like a warning bell. I had just made peace with my decisions, or so I thought. Now, an unexpected visitor threatened to unravel everything. "Mom?" The voice was familiar yet foreign, laced with uncertainty. It was my son, standing in the doorway, drenched from the rain. His eyes searched mine for answers I wasn't sure how to provide. "What are you doing here?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. The tension in the air felt palpable, thickening with every passing second. "I couldn't stay away," he replied, stepping inside and shaking off droplets like a lost puppy seeking refuge. "I had to see you." His words hung in the air between us like a fragile thread. We both knew what had transpired before, the moments of laughter that turned into something deeper. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil within me. Each clap of thunder echoed the chaos of emotions I had tried to suppress. "Things can't go back to how they were," I said softly, trying to keep my voice steady. "You know that." "Why not?" he asked, his brows furrowing in confusion. "We've always been close." "Close is different now," I murmured, feeling the weight of our shared past pressing down on me like the oppressive humidity before a storm breaks. "Things have changed." "I don't care about what people think," he insisted, stepping closer until I could see the determination etched on his face. "It's not just about them." My heart raced as panic threatened to overwhelm me again. "It's about us, what we've done." He looked away then, and for a moment, silence enveloped us like a thick fog rolling in from the hills. The world outside seemed distant and unimportant compared to this moment filled with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. "I got your message," he finally said quietly, almost as if he were afraid of what it might mean for us both. "What message?" My stomach dropped as dread washed over me. "The one about us." He hesitated but pressed on. "Someone knows." My breath caught in my throat as his words landed heavily between us. The anonymous threat loomed larger than ever now, a specter haunting our every interaction. "I thought it was just a prank," he continued, his voice trembling slightly. "But it felt too real." I felt my heart sink further into despair as reality crashed down around me. This was no longer just about desire or longing, it was about survival, our survival amidst whispers and judgment that could tear our lives apart. "We have to be careful," I warned him urgently. "If anyone finds out." "I don't care," he shouted suddenly, frustration spilling over like rainwater overflowing from a gutter after too much rain. "I don't care what happens. I just want you." His words struck me like lightning, shocking yet illuminating in their intensity. But they also filled me with fear. This wasn't just an emotional affair anymore. This was a potential catastrophe waiting to unfold. "Please," I said softly, trying to reach him through the storm brewing within both of us. "You don't understand what you're saying." "No." He took another step closer, closing the distance between us until we were mere inches apart. "You don't understand. This is what we both want. We can figure this out together." As he spoke those words, so filled with hope, I felt an echo of longing rise within me once more. It was intoxicating yet terrifying all at once. But then reality crashed back and like another wave against jagged rocks, the implications of our choices swirling chaotically around us like the winds outside threatening to uproot everything we held dear. "We can't keep doing this," I whispered desperately as tears threatened to spill over from my eyes, a mixture of sorrow and regret flooding through me at an alarming rate. He stepped back slightly as if my words physically pushed him away from me. Hurt flickered across his features before determination returned anew. "What if we left? Just ran away somewhere far from here?" His eyes shone with an intensity that scared me even more than before. The prospect of abandoning everything we knew seemed exhilarating yet reckless at best. "Running won't solve anything," I protested vehemently despite feeling tempted by his offer deep down inside, a small part of me yearning for escape from all these constraints binding us tightly together while simultaneously tearing us apart. The wind howled outside as if agreeing with our turmoil, the storm intensifying further still while lightning illuminated fleeting glimpses of clarity amidst chaos swirling around us relentlessly without end. "Mom," his voice broke through my thoughts again, soft yet insistent, drawing me back into focus upon him standing there before me searching desperately for answers only time itself could provide. And just then, a loud bang echoed from somewhere beyond our walls. Something heavy had fallen nearby, rattling windows, sending tremors through both our hearts alike, reminding us once again how fragile life truly is when faced head-on by storms both inside and out. "Did you hear that?" Panic flared anew within me as instincts kicked into high gear, urging caution above all else. "Yes," he replied, cautiously glancing toward the door uneasily as if sensing danger lurking nearby, waiting patiently for its moment to strike. We stood there suspended between fear and desire, caught up in tangled webs woven intricately throughout lives lived quietly until now, exposed, raw, vulnerable, stripped bare, revealing wounds once hidden away, carefully guarded secrets unraveling thread by thread until nothing remained intact, only chaos scattered across paths taken leading nowhere, fast spiraling downward, endlessly trapped within cycles repeating, endlessly unable break free from constraints imposed upon them by choices made long ago. Another crash sounded louder this time, jolting both of us back into reality, forcing decisions upon us neither one truly ready nor willing face head on. As shadows lengthened around us, cloaking everything familiar within darkness, creeping ever closer, threatening swallow whole, leaving nothing behind but echoes, laughter, fading memories cherished forever, lost amidst storms raging outside, never ceasing, always present, haunting reminders, choices made lead down paths diverging far apart, never meeting again.